Hi, what we got cooking today? It is episode 13 of Penny Cooks Mom's Cookbook. And today we're making chili colorado. And it's interesting because if I knew that this recipe actually existed, I probably would have had this in my repertoire much more than I do. Because I make kind of a quick and dirty version of this, but I was very surprised. Okay, so for chili colorado, you are going to need a pot roast. This is a chuck. Oh, it says one chuck roast. Chuck roast. Okay. 2 cloves of garlic smashed and 2 cloves of garlic diced. We like our garlic. 1 medium onion quartered. There's the 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 large can Las Palmas chili. Now, I had to consult the great Gomori Google on Las Palmas chili sauce. So depending on where you're at, you can find chili sauce. So like if you're in New Mexico, this will be labeled chili sauce. But because we're here in Texas, it's labeled enchilada sauce. So it's the same thing. It just, depending on where you're at, it's going to be a different label. So, red sauce. So, beef stock, which we're going to be making in just a second. 1/2 cup flour. 1/2 cup shortening. Now, I don't have any shortening right now because I never have it in my house. But I have something similar. I've got tub butter, which is essentially shortening, and I have salt-free butter, which is essentially shortening. So we're going to be making a roux a little bit later and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, salt and pepper, 1 small can of tomato sauce, trim fat off a roast, place roast in a pot. Cover with water, bring to a boil, lower heat and simmer till scum forms. Remove scum, add 2 smashed garlic cloves, onion quarters, salt and pepper. Simmer until meat is tender, but not falling apart. Remove the meat, reserve the stock. So that's the beef stock for later. In another pot, make a roux by melting the shortening and adding flour. Cook just long enough for flour to start changing color. Add diced garlic and cook for a minute and remove from heat. Then add the Las Palmas chili sauce and stir enough beef stock to make gravy-like consistency. Add small can of tomato sauce. Cut meat into good-sized chunks and return to chili mixture and heat. You may also add napales at this point. Allow to simmer for 20 to 30 minutes. Season to taste. So for this one, we're going to utilize my Instapot. And so what I'm going to do, Mom doesn't mention this, but I know that browning equals flavor. So I'm going to brown the beef. I'm going to add the water. I'm going to add the garlic. And we'll see you when things are a little bit tender. So I'll be back. Okay, so this Instapot has this great feature that says brown. So I'm just going to start it at browning, and then it's going to heat up, and then we're going to sear the meat, and I'm going to add a little oil. We're going to sear the meat, then we're going to add the water. Okay, so we've browned the beef, and I've added water, so we're going to bring this up to a simmer, and then wait till the scum forms, and then remove the scum, and then I'm going to Instapot it. Okay, I've set it to pressure cook for 20 minutes, and that should give us what Mom's talking about, kind of soft, scum's formed. We'll be able to clean that off, and then we'll do what we kind of got to do. So we'll see what happens. All right, so we've had the pressure cooker going for 20 minutes, and I've done a slow release, so there's no pressure, and we're going to pull out the meat and see what we're up against. So she said that you wanted it to be tender but not falling apart, And that's exactly what we've got. So my thumbnail just went right in. So we have tender and not falling apart, which is perfect. And then we have all of this beautiful beef stock that we need to keep. And then we're gonna make the roux and make the sauce. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I think I kind of messed something up, but you know, it's still gonna be lovely. So Mom said, place the roast in the pot, cover with water, bring to a boil, lower heat and simmer till scum forms, remove scum, add 2 smashed garlic cloves. That's what I forgot to do. So she said, add the garlic cloves. And then she said, add the onion. Okay, so add the garlic, add the onion, salt and pepper, and simmer until meat is tender but not falling apart. Now right now the meat is tender, but it could be a little bit tenderer. So what we're going to do is we're going to return the meat to the pan. So I've cut it all up and it's still kind of, it could go a little longer. So we're going to put that back in the pot with the onions and the garlic. We're going to put the stock back into it and we're going to pressure it for 5 minutes. And then everything should be exactly the way Mom wants it. And if you want to skip all this, you can just start with stew meat. But anyways, I'll be right back. Okay, so I've put the beef broth back in. We've got the onion in there. Mom said use salt and pepper. I'm tempted to throw in a red chili pod, but I'm thinking that because we've got the red chili sauce that we probably don't need the chili pod. Personally, I'd like to just throw some whole peppercorns in here, but you know, hey, and she doesn't call for a bay leaf. Really think we should, but anyways, so we put everything back into the pot. We're gonna seal her back up and we're gonna pressure cook for 5 minutes. And I think that will put us at the right texture that Mom was talking about. So I don't know, we'll see in a little bit. Okay, so Mom said that we're gonna start making the roux, and because that takes a little bit of time. I have put the meat back in for 5 minutes pressure cooked with the onions and the garlic like she said. So now we're gonna start working on this part. Now remember, I didn't have shortening. It probably would taste a little bit better with shortening because everything's better with pig fat, but I don't have that. So I'm using some tub margarine that I only have in the house for when I make cookies, and I've got some butter in here because it's essentially fat. So I'm letting those melt down, and then I'm going to add the flour, which I've got over here. And when you're making roux, you know, it's important to have a whisk because you don't want it to be lumpy. Also have, you know, spatula handy. This is going to take some time, so I'll be right back. Okay, so our butter lard shortening is melted, and so she says, in another pot make roux by melting shortening and adding flour. Cook just long enough for flour to start changing color. Add diced garlic and cook for a minute, remove from heat. Then add the Las Palmas chili sauce and stir enough beef stock to make a gravy-like consistency. So anyway, so like I said, my butter is starting to go. And when you add your flour for a roux, you're just going to add a little bit at a time because it's going to tighten up pretty quickly. And then you just keep stirring it so you don't get lumps. And this is, you know, this is the secret to good gravy. You just make sure you stir a lot. It's really getting tight in here. So we've added all that. So when she says start to change color, what she's talking about is the roux to get a little toasty. We're not talking, like if you were making gumbo roux, you know, when you're making gumbo roux, you want it to end up being like about that color. And so we're not quite going that far. Like I said, you know, I kind of haven't done this recipe, and you know, I haven't done this recipe. So we're just trialing and erroring it, because you know what? That's what we do. So it's getting there. It's getting there. Because you can, but you know, a lot of the color that we have is because we're using butter. So, but I don't know. But hey, you get a clock interlude while I stir. All right, so it's just beginning to change a little bit of color. I hope you enjoyed the clock interlude. And we've got our garlic. So yeah, we can just go just a tiny bit. Yeah, we're at a good spot. So let me just show you what's going on in here. So as you can see, everything's tightened up. We got a little bit of color on there. So we're ready for the next thing that Mom says. And so Mom says, add the garlic and cook for about a minute. And so basically what we're doing is we're just getting the rawness off the garlic. As you can see, I switched over to my spatula, and I can already smell that garlic a-going. So she said, add garlic and cook for a minute, remove from heat, and add the Las Palmas. Now, the thing is, when you're adding a liquid to a roux, it's a bunch of things happen. So what you're doing from a scientific point of view is the starch molecules, because they're in the roux, they quote-unquote tightened up. So when you add the gravy to it, when you add the liquid to it, it's instantly going to turn into kind of icky bits. And so that's why you have to keep it constantly stirring, because when you don't want lumpy, because that's what happens if you don't stir. So, and we're just roughly, wait a minute, not quite. So, all right, and I got my Las Palmas ready. It smells very garlicky in here. So let me grab the Las Palmas. So remember, we're using the red enchilada sauce, and we're just going to add that in there. Add it a little bit at a time. Let it incorporate. And can you see it's getting all really tight and lumpy? So let me see if I can show that to you. See, it's getting kind of tight and lumpy. So you just keep on adding, and it just gets tighter and lumpier. You just add a little bit at a time, because if you add it all at once, that's when you get lumps. So you don't want to do that. So just add a little bit at a time. Keep it going. So see, we've got another paste going. So I'm adding a little bit more. She said remove from heat, which I forgot to do. So I'm going to move you over a little bit. Maybe you can even see a little bit better. So we're adding the sauce. It's pretty tight in here. So a little bit more. And we're probably going to switch back to the whisk when I get to the beef stock. So See, it's really thick and gloopy. So we've got about a quarter of a can left. So we're just going to keep on adding it slowly because we don't want it to be lumpy, because lumps are not our friend. So just keep on going, keep on going. Oh my God, my arm's getting tired. Cooking is not for sissies. All right, so we're going to pour in the rest of it. And so Mom says, add the Las Palmas chili sauce and stir until blended, then add enough beef stock to make gravy-like consistency. So right now we are nowhere near gravy-like consistency. We are definitely in very, very thick goopy. So, okay. So this is how it looks with just the Las Palmas chili. So as you can see, it's very, very thick. So we definitely need to add some beef broth to it. Now I've pulled out some of the beef broth from the Instapot, and we're going to add that in again, just a little bit at a time, because we want to reach wetter than you want. Okay, so what I mean by that is that whatever you feel is a gravy consistency, remember that as this cooks, more of that starch is going to be coming out of the flour, and it's going to make it thicker. So if in your opinion, whatever you think is gravy consistency, you want to make it just about 2 bits wetter than what you like. And that's because it's going to tighten up some more as it continues to cook. So I've added roughly maybe 3 cups of water into this, and it's a wet gravy right now. So this is going to tighten up nicely. I can probably get away with even a little bit more beef broth as we transfer the meat into this. I think I'm probably going to add even more, because right now it's good gravy consistency. I'll show you what good gravy consistency means. So see how it's just kind of falling off, and then you want it to coat the back of a spoon. So that's the traditional way of determining whether or not you're at the right consistency. So right now, like I said, it's exactly what I think gravy consistency is, which is that, okay? But I can tell that it still has room to tighten up more. So when I put the meat in, I'm going to add more broth, and then we'll keep on going. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we have pulled the meat out of the Instapot, and you can see that it is tender, but it still has some tooth to it. So it's not falling apart, but it's still chunks. So that's going to be the perfect texture that we want on this beef. So that's good. So Mom says, okay, add the Las Palmas chili sauce and stir till blended. Then add the beef stock to make a gravy-like consistency. Add a small can of tomato sauce. So we're adding a small can of tomato sauce. Cut meat into good-sized chunks, which is what we've done here. Let me grab my spoon. It says cut meat into good-sized chunks and return to chili mixture and heat. So I'm pulling the meat, but I'm not draining the meat completely, because like I said, I know that my gravy has room to get better, and since she says we're cooking it for 20 or 30 minutes until everything gets saturated, I think I just need that little extra bit of liquid to make it the right consistency. Now she says you can add napales at this point. Allow to simmer for 20 to 30 minutes, season to taste. Okay, so I'm going to turn my heat back to medium. I didn't pull out the onions because they're just going to disintegrate anyway. And Now I think we're right at the right liquidy part. I think this is how I feel. I don't know. So that's one of the great things about cooking is repetition makes masters. And so the more you do something, the better you get at it, and it's lovely. So okay, this is looking good. All right, so I've got my temperature going on a medium electric stove. I've got my sauce going. It's still even a little on the thick side. So this, okay, so it's still a little on the thick side. So we can probably, because this is going to be cooking for another 20 minutes, we can probably do one more scoopish of liquid, and then we're just going to put this on the simmer for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to have chili Colorado. But she said, she did say, you know, taste and adjust seasonings. Pretty spot on. Yeah, I don't think it needs anything. It tastes very chili Colorado-y. So we'll just let it sit for a little bit, and then we'll be back. Okay, so whenever you have anything that does have a flour or roux in it, it is important that you stir it every once in a while, because that flour will stick to the bottom of your pan and it might turn into a little bit of a hot mess. So Mom had recommended that at this point you can add napales. Now for those of you who may or may not know what a napale is, this is a napale, okay? What this is this is a cactus. So this is the beaver tail cactus that you see all along the roadside and all that other good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain this, I'm going to throw it in there. So yeah. Nope. I'm going to have to call in the big guns. But anyway, so I'm going to throw this in there too, because you know what? I like napales and it's an excuse to use them. So we'll be back in a bit. Okay, so we're back. So I opened the napales. So we have drained and rinsed napales. And we're just going to throw those in there and mix them in. And we're at a good simmer. We've got about maybe 10 minutes left on that 20 to 30 minutes that Mom was talking about. And we'll see how it goes. But, you know, you could make Mexican fried rice to go with this, or just serve it, you know, with rice and beans or with tortillas, or however you want to serve this up. But gosh, look at that. Look at how, can you see? I can. So, see how beautiful that is? Yeah, that's gravy. So, yum, yum, yum. Anyways, we'll be back in a bit. Alrighty, so this has been simmering for a good 20-30 minutes. I still have a little of the beef stock left over. So what I did was I put it in a freezer container, and I'll save that for making like a tortilla soup a little bit later. I'm going to put all of this back in the Instapot on the crock pot feature, so that Dad has nice hot chili Colorado when he gets home. And I'm also going to make some rice to go with this, because it needs something to sop up all of this amazing gravy. So anyway, so that's it. That is Mom's chili Colorado with nopales. And let me show you something. All right. So the meat is fork tender but not falling apart. Everything's super tasty. Yeah, this is a keeper. Anyways, so that's it for today. That's Mom's chili Colorado. And until next time, don't forget, I love ya. Love ya. And ta-ta for now.